Good afternoon, everybody from Ann Arbor, and welcome to the Ross School of Business. My name is Eric Davis. I am the Director of Admissions for the Ross Executive MBA program here in Ann Arbor, as well as in Los Angeles. And on behalf of the Executive MBA admissions team, I do want to thank you all for taking time out of what I know are busy days to join me here, learn a little bit more about our program and our school. Speaking of our team, I would like to start by taking just a brief moment to introduce our members, all of whom you will be interacting with as you make your way through our admissions process. Emily Doyle is our Associate Director of Admissions here in Ann Arbor. Stacy Stites is our admissions coordinator, also located here in Ann Arbor. And Gary Kuchar is our Associate Director of Admissions, located out on the West Coast to support our recruiting for our Los Angeles campus. So for today's session, I'm going to discuss what makes the Executive MBA program here at Ross unique, from the academic curriculum, which focuses on general management from more of a strategic perspective, to our customized leadership development programming. And then I'm going to touch briefly on some additional differentiators of our program and school versus our competitors. And then finally, I'll wrap up with a brief discussion on our admissions process. We will have a little bit of time at the very end for questions if you have them. And if you'd like to ask a question, you can do so by using the control bar tool on your GoToWebinar browser. And I'll take as many of those questions as I can, but if I happen to run out of time and I don't address your specific question, just know that we'll be reaching out to you after the session to make sure that you have all of the information that you need. So let's begin by discussing the Michigan Ross EMBA program curriculum. And of course, you can't get too far into a discussion on academics without first bringing up the faculty here at Ross, which are among the world's foremost experts in their fields of study. In fact, 3 of our current faculty members are editors-in-chief of leading academic research publications in the areas of finance, marketing, and economics. So certainly very brilliant people, and also very passionate people. They're passionate about sharing that knowledge and sharing their research with our students in the classroom, of course, and also with the general public through numerous published books. Many of the textbooks that you will be learning from in this program are written by the faculty members themselves. Our faculty write articles and are widely quoted in all of the major business publications. Now, in addition to their research, our faculty are also highly sought after consultants, working with companies, organizations, and governments around the world on current business problems and issues. And that's real world experience that, of course, they're bringing back into the classroom, which creates a very relevant and a very engaging experience for our Executive MBA students. And this engagement is not confined to the classroom. Our faculty are equally as engaged with EMBA students outside of the classroom. And that's a key point for Executive MBA students who, by design, spend quite a bit of time away from the physical campus. So oftentimes, EMBA students do have the need to reach out to our faculty remotely. And sometimes it's some odd hours due to their busy lives and their busy schedules. The faculty here understand this. They know that our students are not the typical students who can come in for their office hours or, again, even contact them during normal business hours. They know this about our students and they make themselves available to them accordingly. Our world-class faculty delivers what is a world-class general management curriculum, which in the case of the Executive MBA program, as I mentioned a moment ago, specifically focuses on general management from a higher level, more strategic perspective. The program begins every August with core business courses in finance, accounting, marketing, and economics, which provides students with a very strong analytical foundation, of course, but that's a foundation that's very quickly expanded upon in this program. And our students are right away encouraged to start thinking more broadly, more strategically about their businesses. Our faculty challenge our students to critically analyze business cases and current business situations in light of things such as their competition, the regulatory environment, and the legal aspects of their business. Starting in the third term, electives and our 4-month signature executive map project-based course allows our students the opportunity to customize their experience by selecting elective courses and an exec map project that coincide with their personal and professional interests. And then finally, students wrap up the experience with comprehensive business courses that focus a little more heavily on the global aspects of business and strategy. And as you can see from the light brown bar at the very bottom of this graphic, the Comprehensive Leadership Development Program curriculum is integrated across the entire 21-month experience. And we'll go into a little more detail on that here in a moment. Now, obviously, this slide provides a highly generalized view of our curriculum. We do have a more detailed look at the specific courses offered by term, and that can be found on the EMBA timeline document, which can be downloaded from the schedule page of our website. It's also here on the GoToWebinar browser if you'd like to download it today. Now note that this is also an interactive document. It's an interactive PDF where you can click on the name of any of the courses and take a deeper dive, get more detailed information, including credit hours, course descriptions, and bios on the faculty that are teaching those courses. So some really great information, and I do would encourage you to take a look at that when you have a moment. Currently, the Ross Executive MBA program offers 15 different elective courses that provide students an opportunity to pursue their individual interests in a wide variety of areas: entrepreneurship, brand management, global finance, positive leadership, and big data, just to name a few. Now, our Ann Arbor and Los Angeles students have the opportunity to take several of these elective courses together at the same time, which provides them not only an opportunity to expand their knowledge, but also to expand their network as well. The Executive Multidisciplinary Action Projects course, or Exec MAP for short, is another way, as I mentioned, for our students to customize their experience, but also to apply what they've learned in the classroom to a real-world business issue or problem, and that's been brought to the university by an existing company or organization. Now, as an EMBA student, quite frankly, you're already going to have this opportunity. I mean, after all, you will have jobs to go back to on Monday morning, and you will immediately begin applying what you've learned to your current positions. The curriculum here at Ross is specifically designed with that immediate application in mind. Through Exec MAP, however, you do have a very unique opportunity to perhaps experience something completely different and outside of your specific area of expertise. Our Exec MAP projects can allow you to explore a new industry, perhaps, maybe experience a startup, maybe even one of your own if you have an idea for one, or expand your knowledge of a different functional area or perhaps different geographic region of the world. So a little bit about the projects that are available to each cohort. At the executive level, the projects typically involve high-level, more complex issues, such as a new product launch, a product line extension, an overseas expansion of operations, a new business venture. The projects come from a wide, diverse set of sponsors: startups, multinationals, not-for-profits, internationally based businesses. And many of the projects in the EMBA program specifically are brought either by companies who are sponsoring our students, or sometimes by the students themselves. In fact, the first of the two Ann Arbor-based projects that are featured on the slide here highlights a project that was brought by one of our students who at the time was running his own successful radiology practice in Dayton, Ohio. And this student decided to develop a subsidiary business focused on a minimally invasive alternative to open spine surgery. So the project team here was asked to help the student perform a comprehensive market analysis, recommend a business model for the new venture, as well as develop a proposed 3-year business plan. The second team shown on the right here worked on a project brought by the billion-dollar multinational Woodward Kempen, who manufacture power converters for the wind turbine market. And this project required the team to travel internationally, first to Dusseldorf, Germany, where Woodward is headquartered, and then on to a couple of cities in China to help Woodward then develop a comprehensive market assessment and an entry strategy into the Chinese marketplace. The next slide here features a couple of LA-based projects that I think help demonstrate the wide diversity of project offerings that we have each year. And as you can see, both of these teams worked on Amazon projects, one working with the e-commerce giant and the other actually working inside of the Amazon rainforest. The e-commerce team here was tasked by Amazon to conduct a price point perception analysis of Amazon's third-party sellers, as well as across all of the Amazon product categories. The team shown on the right here worked with Rainforest Expeditions, which is an ecotourism company, and the team helped them develop a market entry strategy and a marketing plan to support the launch of a 4th research lodge that they were planning to open up inside of the Peruvian rainforest. So just a few examples of the types of projects that our students have the opportunity to work on each year. Leadership development, also a really important part of the EMBA experience because it is so crucial for success at senior levels. Even with a mastery of business fundamentals, even with a great mind for strategy, future success does depend very heavily on one's ability to lead, to communicate their strategic vision to the organization, and then hopefully the ability to motivate and inspire that organization to help them realize that vision. So very important. And in the EMBA program here at Ross, leadership development is approached in a very comprehensive way. As I mentioned a moment ago on that curriculum slide, our leadership development program curriculum is integrated across the entire 21-month experience, and it includes a combination of coaching opportunities, both individual and team coaching, courses and workshops, all designed to help our students develop the skills and the knowledge necessary for them to excel in their current as well as future roles of leadership that they'll be taking on. At the outset of our program, our students create their own personalized leadership development plan, and they do so through 360 feedback, guided self-assessment, and one-to-one executive coaching sessions with an executive coach that is assigned to them. And this is a plan that students will want to continue to work on with their executive coach as they make their way through the curriculum, gaining additional skills, tools, insights, and they will have multiple opportunities to interact with that same executive coach through the 21-month experience. Students also participate in team coaching sessions. Now, during our program, students are a member of at least 5 different teams. And I'm sure that most of you have worked in teams before, but these are sort of unique teams. These are teams where, of course, everybody is accustomed to being the leader on the team and driving the results of that team. And of course, everybody can't be the leader at the same time. So it's a pretty interesting environment, and interactions within that environment do lead to some really great learning opportunities that, of course, can be explored and leveraged with the help of that team coach. And the leadership development curriculum offers courses on leading people and organizations to help our students better increase their leadership influence and impact. We have practical workshops also available throughout the 21 months, focusing on a variety of areas such as executive presence, performing under pressure, and leading high-performing teams. So now let's touch on some of the additional differentiators outside of the customized curriculum that separate Ross from the competition. And the first of the differentiators certainly is our once-a-month format. Here at Ross, we've not only created a curriculum with you in mind, but also a format that's more tailored to your busy lifestyle. Specifically, our program requires students to be on campus approximately 1 weekend per month for 21 months. Students are typically on campus for a full day Friday and a full day Saturday once a month, with, of course, a lot of remote work that happens in between. And that remote work consists of a wide variety of activities, and it could include watching recorded lectures, virtual team meetings, reading assignments, case studies. We do some online simulations, and all of the exams are also delivered online. And we have academic calendars listing the on-campus requirements for both our Ann Arbor and Los Angeles cohorts. Like the EMBA timeline document I referenced earlier, these are both available for download in the handouts section of the GoToWebinar browser, and they're also available on the schedule page of our website. So do consider downloading that document. That's a very useful document to have as you begin to plan and discuss your participation in the program with your employer, your families, etc. So do consider downloading that at your convenience. And discussing the two calendars for both Ann Arbor and Los Angeles happens to be a very nice segue into my next slide and differentiator, and that is our two campuses. The Ross Executive MBA program is offered both here in Ann Arbor at the Ross School of Business, of course, but also in Los Angeles at the Intercontinental Hotel in Century City. Now, both of these locations feature the same curriculum. They feature the same faculty. In fact, all of our faculty will teach our Ann Arbor students one weekend, and then they will fly out to the West Coast to teach our LA students essentially the same material the following weekend. So having the two locations does provide some really great benefits to both the school as well as to our students. From a school standpoint, having the two locations certainly allows us to increase the accessibility of this top-tier school education and network to students from across the country and occasionally internationally. For our students, having the two locations provides, number one, a much more geographically expansive EMBA network with which they can interact with, as well as some additional flexibility while making their way through the program. So specifically, students having to miss a residency at their home campus can oftentimes make up that residency at the sister campus during the following week. Again, the faculty are identical and the material that they're teaching is essentially identical. So while we provide the calendars on the front end, and we certainly do encourage our students to plan around those dates, life happens, and every once in a while a student does have to miss a residency, and again, they can make it up at the sister campus during the adjacent week. So great flexibility. It also happens to be an especially popular option for our Ann Arbor campus students during January and February for obvious reasons. Another major differentiator certainly is the Ross and University of Michigan brand and networks. We are currently billed as the largest living alumni network in the world. University of Michigan and Ross graduates total over 600,000 and are located in over 90 countries around the world. So regardless of where you happen to find yourself professionally, geographically, you will always have an alumnus that you can reach out to for advice and support. And the great thing about the network, aside from the impressive size, is the engagement of the members. I talked a little bit about the passion of our faculty. Well, that passion is equal, if not surpassed, by the passion of our students and the alumni that have come through the program. So that means that when you are reaching out to those alums for advice and support, you know there's going to be somebody picking up the phone on the other end, equally as interested in engaging and networking with you. And the passion of our alumni, I think, is widely known. There are constantly stories hearing "Go Blue" shouted at airports all around the world. So it's definitely a very widely known, passionate alumni, but it's also an officially recognized alumni. Most recently, The Economist, who ranked our Ross number 5 among business schools for global alumni effectiveness. So it's nice that that's official as well, official recognition. Ross as a school is also deeply committed to the continued development of our students and alumni. And a great example of this is our groundbreaking Ross Alumni Advantage program, which offers our alumni a wide variety of developmental benefits, including access to networking and speaker events across the country and internationally, accessible online courses, and lifelong learning opportunities, including full tuition scholarships to all of our executive education open enrollment courses, and that is for the remainder of your career. So really great value there for your continuing education after you leave the program and leave the school. Now, in addition to the vast resources for continuing education and development, Ross also provides our EMBA students and alumni with individualized career services, which are also available for the remainder of your career. And these services are delivered by seasoned career development professionals, and they include one-to-one coaching, career workshops, as well as assistance with connecting across the vast Ross and University of Michigan networks. And as you can see from this next slide, and this is data that's collected by our Office of Career Services, EMBA students do see significant professional benefits both while they're in the program as well as after they've graduated, leveraging the experience, the network, and the school resources to, as you can see, achieve both increases in their responsibilities and corresponding salaries. Now let's turn now to the admissions process. And I'm sure you're all wondering by now, perhaps, what it takes to be admitted to the program and what our admissions committee is looking for as we're filling our classes in both Ann Arbor and Los Angeles. And that essentially boils down to three main factors: candidates' professional experience, their academic ability, and their overall fit with our program and our school. So on the professional experience side, as you now know, the EMBA curriculum at Ross has been specifically tailored for more senior level strategic leaders. So certainly the most appropriate candidates for the program are those that have relevant work experiences and responsibilities that will, number one, allow them to effectively participate in the classroom and the team discussions that are happening through the experience. And also, number two, will allow them to immediately begin applying what they're learning in the classroom to their current positions. That is the fit that we're looking for. Successful candidates also need to be able to demonstrate academic ability, and I'm sure it's not a surprise to you here that the Ross Executive MBA program is a highly rigorous and academically challenging pursuit. A lot of that academic rigor, especially in the early parts of our curriculum, revolves around more quantitatively focused coursework. I mentioned accounting, finance, statistics, economics. So it is crucial that a candidate have the knowledge, the skills, and the drive that's necessary to succeed in some of these very math-heavy yet foundationally important courses. And finally, our committee considers a candidate fit with the program and the school. And I realize that fit is a bit of a vague term, so let me provide a little more context around fit. In my experience, candidates that fit in best with Ross and the EMBA program specifically share a few similar qualities. Number one, I'm going to come back to this, they do have the appropriate work experience. That does play into the fit equation as well. But they're also collaborative. They've effectively worked with others in teams, either as team members, team leaders, and they're able to demonstrate an appreciation of other viewpoints, other approaches to solving problems. A lot of the work in this program happens in teams. I think I mentioned earlier, you're at least a member of 5 different teams. So you're working very closely with a lot of different individuals. So it's really important that our students are able to work effectively within this environment. And finally, I think successful candidates that fit in best have well-defined goals and specific reasons for pursuing the EMBA at Ross. And we determine these things obviously through our application, which has 2 parts. We have an online application form, and we have an admissions interview. The online form is currently live on our website. You can go online, open up an account at any time, and begin populating that form at your convenience. I think the application's fairly standard among top-tier schools. It does require you to upload a copy of your resume, copies of your transcripts from any degree-granting undergraduate and graduate institutions. You'll need to answer a couple of essay questions and choose one recommender. One thing that's important to note is that we currently do not require a GMAT, GRE, or other standardized test for admission. And I know that's a little bit different from other programs, other EMBA programs, as well as other programs here at Ross. Now, the second piece of our application is the interview. And our interview is usually about a 45-minute to hour-long conversation with 1 or 2 members of our admissions committee. And it is a conversation that is based entirely on your resume. And that's why we do it independent of the online form. Interviews can be conducted either before or after you've submitted that form. And we will do them either in person or via Skype, GoToMeeting, any virtual way we can do it. We're happy to work with with you based on what's convenient for your schedule. But once that interview is complete, and once you have submitted the online form and we have all of the pieces, including that third-party recommendation, that is what makes up a complete application, which is then immediately forwarded to our committee for review. We typically take about a month and a half from that date of completion to get you an answer. And we do roll our admissions. So that means that we review applications as they're received, and we are making ongoing admissions decisions throughout the recruiting cycle. Early applications, of course, are therefore suggested because we obviously have more seats available earlier in the process. We do have 4 deadlines listed on our website. Our first one upcoming here is December 15th. However, please, it's important to note that, again, we don't conduct rounds of admissions. We roll our process. So do think of these dates more as target dates to work toward. But do pay close attention to the May 1st deadline. That is our final deadline. And after that date, we may or may not accept applications depending on how many seats we have available. I can tell you over the past 4 years, I believe, we have been at capacity in Ann Arbor and Los Angeles even before we hit that May 1st deadline. So again, early applications are strongly encouraged. And when all said and done, and we have filled the class, this is kind of what the demographic profile looks like. Actually, this is the demographic profile of our most recent class, which started this past August. And hopefully these numbers will give you a good idea on what a typical EMBA class looks like. However, I do often caution prospective students against making perhaps a quick determination of their fit with the program based on a look at one or more of these data points. I get candidates, I don't make that much money, or I don't have that much work experience. Please do note that our admissions committee looks very holistically in each and every candidate when we're determining admissibility. So if after today's presentation and seeing these numbers, perhaps you're still uncertain about your potential fit with the program, one thing I would suggest, and of course it happens to be a good segue to my last slide here, I would suggest reaching out to us and scheduling a consultation appointment with the admissions office. These appointments are great opportunities to speak one-to-one with an admissions professional who can review your work experience and career progression as it's detailed on your resume and give you a sense for your potential fit with our program. And that same professional can also help provide you with some guidance on how to best present yourself in our process if you decide that you'd like to move forward with an application. Consultation appointments can be scheduled either on our website or by reaching out directly to the EMBA admissions office. And I will have the contact information on the last slide for you to take down if you're interested. You can also, as a next step, start an application. I mentioned the online form is available currently on the website. And after you open up your account, you may also want to consider scheduling your interview. As I mentioned a moment ago, we conduct interviews independent of the online form, and we do find that individuals that complete their interview while they're working on the form sometimes can help, they can get a quicker decision, can help expedite the process a little bit, so do consider that. And finally, as a next step, if you haven't already, I would suggest visiting one of our campuses during an upcoming preview day event. During preview days, candidates can attend an EMBA class, have a meal with our students and faculty, and just get a better feel for our program and our culture. And these events are conducted monthly at both campuses, and registration pages are available on our website. We also will do interviews and consultation appointments during those preview days. I think there's an option on the registration page for you to check a box and let us know you'd perhaps like to do an interview or a consultation, and we'll know to set aside one of the spots for you during that particular event. And that, I guess, officially ends the formal presentation portion of the event here. And I'm going to take a look and see if we have some questions coming in, and maybe take a few of those here. I do want to stay mindful of your time. Let's see. Question about the tuition. Not necessarily how much it is, but I'm happy to share that with you. But can you provide a bit more information about what tuition includes? So currently tuition for in-state students is $168,500 US, and for out-of-state students, it's $173,500. We do typically have about a $5,000 differential between in-state and out-of-state. That tuition covers all costs associated with the program, aside from your trips to and from campus for the once-a-month residencies. But once you're here, it covers your stays either here at the executive residence attached to the business school in Ann Arbor, or your room at the Intercontinental, as well as all of your meals, your course materials. I mentioned the exec map project-based part of our curriculum. Many of those projects have a travel component, oftentimes around the primary research side of the project. Some of that travel is international. All of that is also covered under the tuition. So truly, there are no additional costs that are not covered by tuition listed on the website. How much time do the students spend outside of the classroom? Well, that's a very good question, and I can tell you sort of what I hear from students in terms of averages. They tell us that they will spend anywhere from usually about 15 to 25, maybe 30 hours each week on the remote work. Now, of course, that's going to vary by week and what they're studying during any one given week and their comfort level with the subject matter. You know, our CFOs are probably not going to spend 30 hours during the finance week, but at least it gives you sort of a general idea on how much time you might be spending outside of the classroom. Now, that time includes a lot of different activities. I mentioned the recorded lectures, reading assignments, case studies. Most of that remote work is delivered in a way that provides the maximum amount of flexibility so that you don't have to be online at a specific time to watch a lecture. It's recorded. So you can decide what time during the day it makes the most sense for you to sit down and watch that. We have many of our students who travel pretty frequently for their jobs, and they find themselves on a plane for a couple, 2-3 hours. Well, you know, there's some perhaps uninterrupted study time where they could knock out some of those materials. So that high degree of flexibility certainly is figured into how we deliver that remote work when you're away from campus. There's also actually a side benefit to that. In that we can lecture to you remotely. We'll send you those recorded lectures. You know, students who are maybe more non-traditional and don't have a business background like the opportunity to maybe watch that lecture a couple times to really get the concepts down. So there's that benefit. But there's also the benefit that when you're all together physically on campus, we don't have to spend a lot of time lecturing to you. We've already done that remotely. We can spend our on-campus time and the time that we're together physically sort of discussing those concepts that you have learned about remotely and how they play out in the different industries and functions that are represented in the classroom. So much more dynamic, much more collaborative on campus because of the way that we deliver that remote work. So I'm sorry, it's a long answer. Hopefully that's helpful. If you have any follow-up questions on that, please do submit those. Does Ross require a TOEFL from international students? Well, unlike other programs here at Ross, we don't have a set requirement for international students. Instead, our committee, we assess language skills throughout the entire process. So interviews, we read essays. If an individual is doing a consultation appointment, of course, we're basically assessing their communication skills there as well. So we don't have a set requirement for TOEFL, but every once in a while, we have asked candidates to take a TOEFL as a condition of their admission to the program, but no set requirement. It's really very case by case determined. Do you recommend submitting more than one letter of recommendation? Well, as I kind of half-kiddingly say, there's no extra credit for submitting an extra recommender. And really, there's no way in the online form for you to do so. I think there's only room for one. However, every once in a while, we do have a candidate that would like to submit a second because they feel like the second recommender can provide some additional substance from that third-party perspective. And if that is the case for the individual that's asking this question, or anybody else, you can reach out to the admissions office. And again, the information's here on the screen. And let us know you're in the process and you'd like to submit a second recommendation. What we will then do is ask for the individual's name and a personal email address. And then we will send out the recommendation request directly to that second recommender. That's actually what the online form does automatically. When you identify your first recommender by name and email address, we'll just have to do so manually for the second recommender, but we are happy to do that. So if you feel that's necessary, please do feel free to do that. Let's see. Here's a question from the West Coast. I'm also looking at USC, UCLA because of their strong entertainment presence, primarily because of their location. What percentage of your students come from an entertainment industry background? Well, it varies by year. I will say certainly we get many more applications from entertainment, military from San Diego, a lot of times IT coming down from the Bay Area. So the West Coast campus, we certainly do see a flavor of applications, just as we do here in Ann Arbor. We maybe see a little more manufacturing applications here in Ann Arbor. But what I can say is we create classes each year with diversity in mind. We want our students surrounded by as many different backgrounds and perspectives as we possibly can. So we are trying to bring people in from all the different aspects. So while I mentioned we might be getting a lot of applications from a particular industry or function at a specific campus, but we will limit the number of seats that we'll fill with those individuals because, again, we want people, and I think people come to the program for that diversity. They want other ways to solve problems that perhaps they haven't thought of already. So being exposed to different industries and functions is definitely a strength of the program. So I'm not talking around this answer. I really don't have specific percentages. But it's yeah, I mean, certainly it's probably more prevalent in the Los Angeles cohort. I think on the website, I'm not sure if we list percentages, but we at least give you a sense for how many different industries and functions are represented in the class, or at least were for the last incoming class. So I don't have percentages. There will be an entertainment presence in the class, but only part of, again, sort of an overall diverse mix, and that's by design in both at both campuses. Let's see. Is experience considered post-undergrad only or in totality? So as an example, someone began working and then went back for undergrad several years later, maintaining full-time career growth? That's a great question, and I oftentimes get that from military candidates, but other non-traditional, and I would consider this individual to be a non-traditional applicant. We absolutely do look at that work experience as valid. It's not post-graduate, and I think on the application we ask for postgraduate work experience, but we would consider those other years as relevant work experience, as long as it's full-time work experience, and again, as long as it sort of contributes to the overall career growth and career progression of that individual. Certainly should be listed on the resume, and it certainly will be considered by our committee when we're considering this candidate for admission. Oh, sure. For the admission, what is the essay requirement? Sorry, I might have missed it on your slide. We have, I think we currently have 2 essay questions that are required. I think the first one has to do with your proudest professional achievement, and the second one has to do with a sort of leadership development, your leadership development goals, and maybe getting into a little bit more about sort of Michigan's philosophy on leadership. So those are required. We do have a third optional essay. And kind of going back to this idea of there's no extra credit. It's not a trick. It's, optional, quote unquote. It truly is an optional essay, and most of our applicants will not use that optional essay. But those that do, they might use it to, I don't know, perhaps talk about an undergraduate record that is not stellar, but there's context around that situation. So they might want to use that space to let the committee know about that. And we're getting into more of the sort of the details on the application. And by the way, I'm going to make a quick plug. We are doing an application tips webinar on the 13th of this month. And you can register for that on the website where you registered for this event. We'll get into a little more detail about the application and maybe even some tips on how to approach our process. So do consider attending that. But in terms of the essays and the optional essay, again, they might use it to talk about maybe an undergraduate record that an individual is not terribly proud of, but there are reasons behind that. Sometimes a candidate might pick a recommender that is not a direct supervisor, and that certainly is our strong recommendation. That person usually has the most substantive information about a candidate from a third-party perspective, but sometimes a candidate might choose somebody other than their direct supervisor. That could be, I guess, a red flag to our committee. So I usually encourage candidates to use that optional essay, couple sentences or 3 sentences or whatever it takes to basically let the committee know, hey, this is not my direct supervisor, but here's why. Here's why I've chosen the recommender that I've chosen. We are a program, as you hopefully the slides were good, and it's a general management curriculum, very heavy on strategy and leadership. So using that optional essay perhaps to discuss a strategic initiative that you've been a part of, or a leadership opportunity that you've had that maybe is not adequately addressed in other essays or on your resume or in the interview. That's also a place where you might want to add some additional information on that. So maybe I'm rambling a little bit here, but hopefully that answers that question. 2 required and 1 optional, and it is truly optional. Let's see. Can a student select any of the available MAP projects, or does the class work on the same project? Yeah, so we, and I think other schools have come around to this idea of project-based learning, and many of them are providing those types of opportunities in their curriculum. We here at Ross, we've been doing this MAP experience since I think 89, late 80s, early 90s. So we've been doing project-based learning for a long time. It is a requirement of all of our graduate programs. And unlike other schools that are coming around to this idea and perhaps are having the class all work on the same capstone project, we actually put together a large panel of projects that our students can choose. And hopefully I gave you a sense for what those projects kind of look like and where they come from. A lot of them do come from current students, a lot of times from their sponsoring companies. This is a great opportunity for their company to get maybe a pet project of theirs worked on for 4 months by a real fairly high level consulting team at little or no cost. There's a tremendous amount of value to that partnership. So a lot of the projects come from sponsoring companies. And just as an aside, those of you that are getting ready to approach your organization about sponsorship, you might want to bring up that partnership opportunity. Now we can't guarantee the project will go. Again, we put together a panel of projects and we ask the students to rank the projects in order of their interest, and we create the teams based on the student preferences. So there's no guarantee the project will go, but there is that possibility, and again, great value. And kind of coming back to the question here, a typical cohort will have anywhere from 35 to maybe 40, 45 different projects, and we ask the students to rank them in order of their interest, 1 to 10. And then again, we take the preferences and create the teams based on those preferences. I think historically, we've never had to dip below a 3rd choice. So the students are typically able to get one of their top projects that they want to work on. So different projects and lots of choice. And let's see. I'm sorry, I'm laughing. Do you accept people that are 10 years beyond college? How old is too old? Well, I'm 52, so please, you're never too old. I can say we usually have, I think it's the average age of the last cohort was 38, 39. Yes, we have an average postgraduate work experience of about 14 years. Now, those are averages. So absolutely, we do accept people that are 10 years beyond college. In fact, that's usually a large majority of the people that are attending this particular. Oh, 20 years. Okay, not 10. Even 20 years. Yeah. We typically, the age range usually is anywhere from around 30 to I think the last cohort we graduated, we had a 62-year-old in that class, and kind of everything in between. So I like to say to most prospective students who are talking about age, I doubt you're going to consider yourself the elder statesman in the class. So hopefully that answers that question. Let's see. The Zingermans, all right. Yeah, this is I guess a follow-up to the LA question. Somebody is interested in Zingermans. Actually, we just opened up a Zingerman's Bistro here inside of the business school, so we don't have to go far for good Zingerman's cuisine and coffee. Question about scholarships. Are there any scholarships for folks that are not being sponsored by their employers? Yeah, and I have to say that is a trend that we unfortunately have seen. I've been in my role for 10 years now, and when I first started, there was a lot of corporate money around programs like Ross's and other schools as well, and that landscape, as I'm sure you all can attest to, has changed pretty significantly. So we usually have half, if not a little over half of our students fully self-funding. And we do have scholarship money. I will be perfectly frank with you. We are a public school, and I unfortunately have a public school scholarship budget to match. So we don't typically have a lot of money at the beginning of our cycle, but we do have some. And we make scholarship decisions the same way that we make admissions decisions, on a rolling basis. And every applicant is considered not only for admissibility, but if they are determined to be admissible, then the committee will at the same time then take a second look at the application to determine whether or not they would like to make a scholarship award. I will tell you, historically, scholarship awards have been anywhere in the range of $5,000 to 25, maybe $30,000 on the top end, and that's for the duration of the program. So it's not a lot of money, but every little bit helps, I suppose. So there are those funds available, and again, every candidate are considered for a scholarship award when the committee is reviewing their application. Make sure I'm getting these all here. Let's see. Is it really necessary to have 10 to 15 years of experience? Can we apply with 5 years work experience with a master's degree? So everything's kind of situational, and what I would suggest to this individual, as well as anybody else that is maybe has questions about their specific fit with the program, really do consider scheduling a consultation appointment and getting a resume in front of us so that we can take a look. Now, of course, we're not, and we won't be in any position to make an admissions decision, but we can at least give you an idea on is it a good potential fit for you. Honestly, we're not interested in having anybody and everybody apply to this program. There's a lot that goes into an application. I already talked about. Now, of course, there's no GMAT requirement, but you still have to write essays and pick a recommender and pay us $200 and write essays. So there's a lot that goes into the application, and we're more than happy to take a look at your resume and give you a sense for, is this the right fit for you right now? Or perhaps maybe there's another option here at Ross that you might be a better fit for, and you could perhaps maybe take a look at that program and get more information on those programs and those admissions processes. So for this individual and anybody else that has a similar question, please do reach out to us, schedule a consultation appointment. We'll be happy to sit down and talk in greater detail about your specific experience and potential fit with the program. Do we have financial sponsorship requirements from employers? No, we do not. I mentioned over half of our students are not getting any financial sponsorship. Now, we do have a one-page form that needs to be signed by your direct supervisor and presented to the admissions office by your first day of class for all enrolled students. And it is basically, we call it the statement of corporate support, but it really is more an endorsement of your participation in the program by your organization. We do have that requirement, but only for enrolled students. It's not part of the admissions process. What we have found in the past is that students wanted an opportunity to apply, be admitted, and then take that admissions decision to their employer and approach them about sponsorship at that point. So we don't require that form as part of the admissions process, but it would be required as an enrolled student. Okay. Oh man, I'm almost going an hour here. So I'm gonna take one more question. I see there are plenty more coming in, and I certainly do appreciate those questions. And again, we will be answering those in short order and getting you the information that you're interested in. I'm gonna take this last one because it is a common question, and I think I've seen it a couple times here. What is the cohort class size in each location? We are like I said, a cohort-based program. We have a limited number of seats, and we have a much smaller space at the Intercontinental Hotel in Los Angeles. So that class size is quite a bit smaller. We are space constrained at 43. And we will have 43 students in that class. Here in Ann Arbor, obviously we have the luxury of having more class space and more options. And so classes here in Ann Arbor will typically be anywhere from 70 to 80. I do think it's my faculty director and my managing director of the opinion that anything over 80 is probably going to be too big. We are a cohort-based program. I talked a lot about the collaboration in the classroom, the give and take, and I think you can have a class that's too large to have, that could have a negative effect on that interaction. So between 70 and 80 is a pretty safe guesstimate here in Ann Arbor, but definitely 43 out in LA, and we will definitely be there for next year. So anyway, so a couple more questions coming in. I'm going to take those. Well, you know what? All right, I'm going to take this last one. What if your employer changes between application and enrollment? That's another good question. That's absolutely fine. What we would ask is that candidate at least let the admissions office know that your employer has changed. We would also really encourage you to approach that employer, as you probably would have anyway, about your participation in the program. And I think we'd probably also want you to sign another corporate support statement with your new employer. But in terms of the admissions decision, that's absolutely fine. Any changes, we have had students that have been admitted and actually made a physical move geographically. So all those changes, individuals should keep our admissions office apprised of, so we know that what we're sending you, you're getting, and that you're tuned up and ready for class when we start in August. And if I haven't said it already, we are currently recruiting for the August 2020 start. So anyway, thank you all for your time today and your interest in our program and our school. Hopefully this has been helpful. Please do know that myself and my staff, we're all here as resources for you during the process. So if you have any follow-up questions, either in your due diligence phase or if you're part of the application process and you need help or have any questions, you can always reach out to us. We're happy to assist in any way that we can. So again, thank you so much for your interest. We'll look forward to hearing from you all very soon. Go Blue.